And we should be live streaming. Is the audio up enough? Let me bring it up a little bit more. There we go. Okay. And we're live. Oh, let me fix that real quick. Okay. My head was a little low. That should fix it. And let's get into the video. Today we're going to be setting up DaVinci Resolve. I'm going to take these off. I was talking really slow because all my voice was delayed in the headphones. So let's get into this. Today we're going to be setting up DaVinci Resolve on macOS. Not like setting it up, but once you start a project file, what do you do? So currently I just created the file. It's just called live test. That's all I did. Start a project, name it that. And let's get the settings set up. So what we should do first of all is go into our settings right here. And this will affect all the project files we do in the future. So for example, this one is 3840 by 2160 Ultra HD. And that is the resolution of all the base timelines are going to start at. You can modify that later. I am not going to usually unless I choose vertical res shorts, and it basically flips it for short videos. Okay, so what we can do, for example, here is I like to shoot my videos at 30 frames a second. So there we go. And just 1 second. Okay, so that is the resolution, that is the frame rate that I use. Video monitoring, I leave all of this alone, but what really matters is in the audio and color space. So this right here, we're going to set this, instead of Rec 709 scene, we're going to set this to DCI, or P3 DCI, or no, P3D65. No, that's not right. It should be this one. Yeah, P3 DCI, and then there should be a sRGB in there. And that matters a lot for what we're going to talk about in the future. Now, this is Dolby Vision and HDR stuff. I haven't really gotten into that. I've tried to do it, and every time I have, it's looked terrible, so we're going to skip all of this. Now, again, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section, and I will answer them. Okay, so these are some other settings. I usually use my Blackmagic Pocket 6K, so we're going to change the camera raw settings to Blackmagic Raw, and that'll just help us in the future. As far as the deck settings and capture and all this stuff goes, you will be using this if you're going to be capturing the video on the computer. So if you like have a deck, what is it, a HyperDeck Studio HD Mini? No, not HyperDeck. It's a Ultra Studio. There you go. Like an Ultra Studio. Then you would need those settings, but I don't have that yet, so I won't mess with that. And then here we have our audio sample rate. Now, most of my videos, well, all of them right now, are 48 kilohertz. I haven't figured out a way to connect my audio interface into DaVinci Resolve at 192 kilohertz, but it is possible to do so. I have not done that. And then there isn't a setting here, but when we export it, I export it 24-bit because I have more dynamic range in the audio. Okay, so those are the main settings in there, and just the main things. So just basically the color science and timeline resolution. I've done some timelines at 8K or 6K. I always film in 8K, and then the resolution of the timeline is 4K. And then I can crop it if I want to. But that really doesn't matter for this. If you want to change the settings for one-time video, you can. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. Okay, so what we're going to do is save those settings. Now what we're going to do is go into advanced settings here page. So as you can see, this is a brand new project file. Everything about it is brand new. Oh, that's freezing. There we go. Yeah, so there's nothing in this at all. So before we're going to change anything or create a project file, we have to change the space color tag and gamma tag to what the project settings are. Otherwise, it outputs the video as not as saturated, and it doesn't look good. So make sure you change that color space tag to P3 DCI and the gamma tag to sRGB. I was exporting videos and creating videos for a long time before I figured that out, and that's what you need to do if you want your videos to look saturated and normal like it does in the timeline. Now, as far as export settings, I usually do it in H.264. Previously, I was doing it all in ProRes, but it takes way too long to upload a full ProRes video. So H.264 at 4K, 29.97, and then the audio. This is all fine, the basic settings, but change the bit depth to 24-bit. It can go up to 32-bit, but that's a little bit pointless. Most things can't use 32-bit, and I don't believe YouTube can either. And then the file name is just untitled. That will change for every video. Now, we can browse and set a location for this if you want, or you can do that per video. I usually do it per video and put it in the folder that the whole project is in, but you can set that if you just want all of your videos to go to an exported section. So, like if you have folders like exported videos, that's what that could be. Okay, and then a couple more settings. If you go on the bottom, there's a little settings icon. That is some of the same settings we had before, like that. And then there is another part of settings and preferences up here, and that is some more options. So we want to max out the system memory to just take it to the max processing power, or no, max amount of RAM that the system can use. If this isn't enabled, enable it. You want it to either be an auto or just metal for Apple Silicon, like on this computer, and that will speed it up. Everything else is usually fine. I'm just running through to make sure. Is there anything else that I changed? You can link like a YouTube account, so just export and upload automatically. I don't do that. I like to just use it through the YouTube itself. Everything I believe is the same. If there's a problem with something, you can come in here and fix it. Yeah, that's all good. So let's save that for now. And that will apply in the next thing, but I didn't change anything, so you have to, if you change anything in that menu, you will have to restart DaVinci Resolve. Now, I think that's all the basic settings. So now let's start a timeline. So in here, I can press with 2 fingers on this bin right here, create a new bin, and I can title this Part 1. And then that bin is titled Part 1. So I can click on it, and then that's like a smaller bin. And within that, I can go into the Edit tab and create a new timeline, but just some. So that's what that is if you want to change a specific timeline. Now, after you create the timeline, you cannot change some of these aspects of it. So if you create a timeline, you edit a bunch of things, and you're like, you know what, I want to change my frame rate. Normally, don't do that, but if you wanted to, you'd have to create a new timeline with those settings and copy and paste everything over. So that is good to know. I wish I knew it earlier, because I've had to create the project and then change the resolution or something and move it all over, but it's there. Just know that that's a thing. Okay, let's just use project settings and create it. Now we have our timeline, and then we can import some video. So let's do that. Oh. And let me grab some files here, and let's just start a basic edit. Let me go and find some footage. Where is it? So the MacBook Pro is pretty far away. There we go. That's not it. I should have prepared this in a 1 second. There we go. That footage in it? No, but it was shot on the 22nd. There we go. Is that some clips? 1 second. I'm gonna switch projects real quick. And this is the project that I normally work in. My footage, I can't find exactly what footage I wanted to use today, so I'm going into timeline. And as you can see here, this has kind of gotten a little bit insane. There is over 100 timelines in this, but this is basically how I run the channel. I'm going to switch back. And this is kind of like what the whole thing is turned into. There's a lot of things in here, but that's what I'm working in. We're talking from brand new. Okay, let's load that setting, or back. Now we're back to this time. Let me create a new bin. Come back in here and drag and drop. There we go. That is all the footage from when I went to the Tesla exhibit at the Peterson Automotive Museum. Some pretty cool B-roll I shot there. So there's those, and we can just, from here, we can just grab a clip and put it on, and there it is. And it plays back and everything works perfectly. So, and then from there we, add more clips, stagger them. If we want to, we can add music. So I can go to my music library. I have had multiple different music subscriptions in the past. Quick advice here, I've used Storyblocks a lot, and that's what I'm currently using, but I've also used Artlist in the past. I think Storyblocks is overall the best deal, but for the stock footage and stock animations and things, I found that for me personally, I like Artlist and ArtGrid better. It is more expensive per month, but their music is better. So we can take a quick listen here. Find some music. I want to make sure that this isn't too loud. Okay, it's not picking up at all. Okay, so I'm looking for music right now. That one will work. Okay, so import. So just drag and drop it in, and now it's onto the timeline. We can delete this bottom audio. If by default it's connected to the top two clips, so you can unlink those and delete them. Now there's some music that is underneath it. So now, for example, now it's playing the audio. So yeah, I mean, audio levels are over here in this corner, and then if we click on the audio clip, we can adjust the audio levels, the volumes. This tool right here, this dialogue processor, has been really helpful for me because I can just basically click it, and it's like a compressor and limiter for the whole, the clip. But if you select all the clips first, you can just turn that on, and it basically levels the audio correctly. I usually have a additional compressor onto that whole line just to make it, not hitting the limits, but that's really been a good addition to DaVinci Resolve. Okay, so after, we have our audio, we have our clip. Let's go into the music tab, or not music, the color grading tab, and we have to color grade this clip. Now, all these clips were recorded at with black, so we can come into the color stuff down here, and we bring up a waveform so we can see if we're peaking. It looks pretty good, but let's adjust it a little bit. I did record a video of my color chart when I came here, so I could color grade all my footage to look right. But most people don't have that, so I'm not going to be showing that today. I might make a video about it in the future. So we're going to just adjust our curves a little bit, and our color temperature, but not that color temperature. We can adjust the color temperature in here because it is raw. So make it a little bit cooler. We're going to come over here and make it a little bit more contrasty and saturated, just a tiny bit. And that looks pretty good for a basic grade. Now there's a lot you can do in DaVinci Resolve as far as color grading goes, because it is a professional software, and before it was a free editing software like it is today, it used to be a color grading software only, so it has those advantages over the other softwares like Final Cut Pro or Premiere Pro. So it is a much better color grading software. Now, as far as grading other clips, see I just graded the one here on the bottom, so the other clips aren't graded. There's two ways I could do this. I could either copy the node, so Command C on the node, go to the next clip and Command V to paste, and it pastes the attributes of that node. But if you have a ton of nodes, usually I have like 7 nodes for more advanced grades, I can do this and hit grab still, and it generates a still. Now I can export that still for like a thumbnail of a video, or I can go to the next clip and hit apply grade, and it will copy all the attributes of that clip. Now in this clip we can see here that its background is quite blown out, so if we can drop our ISO down, it can fix that. But now see the foreground's, fix it relatively. I should have shot this a little bit differently if I wanted to recover that. But I can come in here and boost the shadows in this tab here. We can boost the shadows a little bit if we want to, and bring down the lights if we wanted to. But I'm happy. That's a little too bright. There we go. Okay. So now you can see both of these clips are graded, and they look good. Now they could be a little bit smoother. Oh, question. Thank you. Yeah, so you commented, bro, this is actually helping me. I'm learning how to edit. I'm glad I can help you. If you have any questions about this, leave it in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer that. Okay, so now that we have these clips right here, because this is shot on my Blackmagic Pocket 6K, and I did update it to the newest firmware, there is another advanced stabilization mode called Camera Gyro. Now what that is basically it takes the sensor data, or not the sensor data, the gyro information from the camera, and it can stabilize it with that to make it stabilized. So we can see here, this clip isn't perfectly smooth, and we can go into Camera Gyro and hit stabilize. It'll take a second. Faster computers can stabilize this faster. We can stabilize this clip, and then it'll zoom in a little bit, but it'll be a lot smoother. So we can see here the clip is way smoother. Now that only applies to the Blackmagic cameras, so if you don't have that, you can go into similarity or translation or perspective, and it will do the same thing. It just could cause some warping to happen. But generally it works pretty good if you fine-tuned it enough. And you can do that to each clip individually, but it will take some time. So, that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, if I have the option, I will always use Camera Gyro, because it has been better for me. So, if you can do that, do that. It will definitely help. Now, for example, right here on the side of the semi, see it's a little bit overexposed. I didn't see that earlier, so in this little tab right here, if you want to enable this, it's the inspector icon at the top. Oh, you can't see it here. There we go. Up at the top, there's this inspector here, and this is where the video settings are. So if I want to settings for the clip art, if I want to zoom in the clip, I can just zoom it in right there, and you can see this is recorded at 6K, so I can zoom in quite the attributes of the zoom, the position, rotation, pitch, yaw, and then underneath that is the cropping and dynamic zoom. So basically, like Final Cut Pro calls it the Kensburn effect, but it's basically an automated zoom. But you can do that with keyframes too. But besides my point, that's the video, audio, effects, transition, image, and then that is what we're going to be using for what I was going to show you. So if we can adjust this right here, say we drop it down to 200, see that's exposed better, and it can help. But again, shadows are a little bit hurt, so we can adjust some of the other settings. Probably in the middle's okay. If I were to do this properly, I'd create a tracked mask over this area of the semi that's overexposed and bring that down part with a slight area around it to a bevel, no, not a bevel, a roll off, and that could work. Generally, I don't do a lot of tracking because it's very difficult, but it is there if you are wanting to do that. Okay, so now that we have both of these clips in and looking good, we can add some more clips. So we can chop it up a little bit. Now I'm not sure I wasn't planning on getting this far, so let me see if I can desktop audio. You see if this works. Testing. I don't think it's going to work what I was hoping. So that's something to work on in the future so you can hear it. But let's get back to the point. So we have those clips. We can add more clips if we want to. So we can, and this is kind of neat. In the different modes, see these clips in this big pile over here. If we can just skim over them. So say this clip of this Rimac here. We can hit play, and this is just in the preview. If we press I, and then we can go to another point and press O. That's the in and out points, and we can just drag that clip onto the timeline, and it'll just take that part of the clip. So that can speed up your edit as well. Again, if we want to grade it, this was shot at 5.7K, so not quite 6K, so I need to zoom it in just a tiny bit. I can go back into color, apply grade. It's graded. Now, this was shot indoors in different lighting, so see how it's so green and it's too bright. We can bring our exposure down like that, and then it's way too green, so we can change the tint and fix that, and now that looks pretty good. It's a little bit too contrasty though, so let's do that. Now that looks way better than before. Maybe a little bit less green. More right there. Now there's more that I can do to make this look good, but this is, it looks decent for just a couple clicks. And then we can go into over here and camera gyro again, stabilize, and stabilizes it. So now that part of the clip is in there. Now, if we want to make it longer, we can, but watch this. This is kind of interesting. You can see there, it is smooth, and then it shakes a bunch. This is not in. So if you change the clip length after stabilizing it, you will need to stabilize it again. So just click on the clip, hit camera gyro. If it doesn't let you stabilize, similarity, camera gyro again, and now it'll stabilize the entire clip of that part. Now if I send it backwards, we'll have to do it again. So there we go. Now that part of it is stabilized. So we can just drag it on top, and think of timelines as like a layer. So we have our first layer here, and then our second layer, and then our third layer, and these stack up on top of each other. So the more layers you have, the more complex it is, but it's still seeing all of the pixels underneath it. So for example, if we take this clip here and go into this right here, we should be able to go into opacity, and we can change the opacity so both clips are on top of each other. See how that works? So this clip here is on top of that clip. And that is helpful if you want to add logo. For example, on the live stream right now, I've got that logo right here in this area, and that is basically running the same way, but in OBS. So, if you want to have a logo on top of the whole video, put that logo on the top layer of the video, and it'll work. So, yeah, and other softwares like Premiere Pro or After Effects, mostly After Effects, will have like adjustment layers on top of the clip. You can't really do that in DaVinci. It's not how it works. If you want to do a VFX shot, you can make it a compound clip or a fusion clip, and then you can go into fusion. So that's not a fusion clip, but you do lose all the image aspects of like the color grading, the raw files. Once it's a fusion clip, we can go into the fusion tab and make it really cool and add a bunch of effects, but that's quite complicated, and I haven't really gotten into that much. There's been some things that we've created with Fusion, so if I come into this folder, I can show you something that we made in Fusion. Oh, it's not liking it. Okay. Okay, here we go. So I made this video earlier, and if you drag it just onto the timeline, it'll add it into the bin that it's in. So if you don't want it in that bin, you can drag the file out into the main folder, and there it is again. So this is something that I made in Fusion with some help from my brother, and this is what this is. Actually, this one wasn't in Fusion, but that's the kind of thing that you could do in Fusion. So it's not like you could add effects to it. Oh, like here's one that I made. This text right here. See how the mountain is going in front of it? And I could actually animate this so that the text comes up from behind these mountains here. Now this is Mount Hood, in case you're curious. I shot this like a year ago. But yeah, so that's what some of the stuff you can do in Fusion. It's super, super cool. But it's pretty complicated, and it's based off of nodes, not the layers like After Effects. So if you're coming from After Effects, it can be a little bit challenging. Here's one that was pretty complicated that we made in Fusion. See that? And then all these dots are set up in like a pattern in Fusion. So if you've watched my other videos, you'll have seen this before. So there you go. Now, real quick, probably I'm going to end this lecture at some point. Maybe we'll see. Oh, I will. But with editing in DaVinci Resolve, when you're just getting started, there's a lot of keyboard shortcuts that can be done. So for example, if you hold Shift and then scroll up or down, it can change the track size. So if your audio comes in like this and you want to actually see what it is, Shift and scroll, and it'll just make it massive. Same with the other side. And then here's some basic ones. If you press D, that's the blade tool, so I can cut something up. Press A to go into the normal tool, and then hit Shift Delete to delete that part, or delete. Now the Shift Delete is kind of interesting. If you take a clip, A, so B, cut, A, Shift Delete, it'll actually bring the clip over. So if you're editing, like this video, if I were to record it, I probably should have recorded it. You could take all the parts where I pause and then just select that clip, press B, and cut that part out. So here's for an example. Say that this song right here is an audio waveform and there's video on top of it. If I were to hit B and cut that missing point out, I could do that and hit Shift Delete and everything moves over. So if you do that when editing, it can really speed up the process to help get videos out faster. Okay. There's a lot of other tools. For example, if you want something to line up with another clip, it does it automatically, but if you press N, it doesn't. So if you want to move something by a couple frames, you could do that, or you press N to just auto line like that. It's basically the snap tool. And there's a bunch more. If we go into the DaVinci Resolve menu, we can go into keyboard customization, and we can customize these to any number of actions. Look at those. Tons of options. And we can activate them in ways. And it's just so much customization. And when starting in Resolve to begin with, you can actually say, hey, I'm coming from this software, and it'll change all the keys to match up with like Final Cut Pro or whatever when downloading Resolve for the first time. And so there you go. If you're having playback performance, hit this playback button at the top bar, and then timeline proxy resolution, and drop it down to 1/4. Oh, you may need to restabilize your clip. There you go. And oh, that's not right. I've had this problem before. Okay. Anyway, drop it down to 1/4 and it will fix it. So then we'll get so we'll get better playback when editing. Say for example you have a really huge timeline. I can show you an example of one. It's loading in. This is taking a while to load. Okay, back into where my videos are. This is my last short video. So let's do, where's one that I did that was pretty huge? No, not that one. This timeline right here. So you can see, timelines can get pretty massive. This is just a couple minute video, like 6-minute video, and you can see all the layers that are added onto it. It's kind of insane, but these are like, here, see? Oh, I did load in the text, so the text file, this is a different computer, but there's so many layers, and all these layers are, I think most of them are pretty high resolution, so playback can get pretty terrible. So full playback here, I hit the play button, and see how glitchy that is? We're getting 9 frames a second, 10 frames a second. So that's a quarter playback. If we go into timeline proxy resolution, make it a quarter. Now we're getting 29.97. Oh, which is 30. And it's still bad, but not as bad as it could be. So that's something to definitely take advantage of if you are running into performance issues. It does make it a little bit blurrier, but it really can affect it. I've had some other projects, so what is this project? What's the max layer this hits here? There's a maximum of 11 layers in use on this track, or on this timeline. One project, which is that, one project I had was, I think I was in the mid-60s of layers on that. So it was like built up to like the top of this with layers, and it was just like all clips. And that one, I was getting like 2 frames a second of playback on a Mac Studio, and it was with proxy. So there will become a point if your project gets too massive that the proxies become unusable. So there are some other ways to increase performance, but most of them involve just disabling clips that you know work, so you can do parts of the frame at certain times to get it to work properly. So, yeah. Let's go back to our test timeline here. There we go. So, let me show you how to do that. If you press the home button on the bottom, it'll bring you this little page, and this is basically where all your projects are. So if you create a new project, you can just tap that, type the title, and that's where we started at the beginning of this video. But you can double click, and it'll load the different projects. And we're back to this one. So that's what that does. You can press home. And there's things you can do, like access other projects on the network, or do the Blackmagic Cloud. But let's go back to the live test here. Now, as I said earlier about the layers of audio or video, it also is the same way for audio. So if I copy this, if you want to copy a clip, hit Command C, and then go somewhere else, hit Command V, it'll paste that clip. You can set multiple clips on top of each other, like that. Now, I wouldn't do this with audio. If you want too many like music tracks, it'll just become a mess. But that's how you do that, and then you can adjust over here in this mixer the total volume of those tracks. So basically, if you used a soundboard before, it's that, and you can change like the pan and stuff. And then in Fairlight, that's Fusion. Fairlight, we can expand this real quick. You can add effects to it. So if I wanted to add dynamics, I usually add a 2 dB limiter on all of my videos, just because I don't want the videos to peak, and that'll take the top part of it and compress it down, limit it. So now we have the 2 dB limiter on this clip. So now see this line over here? It's not exceeding 2 dB, minus 2 dB. So I don't think you can hear the music that's playing when it is. It's coming out of my headphones. Usually I'm using my 2 Yamaha HS5s, and those are studio monitors, but I can't have them turned on right now because it'll just be an endless loop of feedback to the live stream, and it'll sound terrible. So I have my audio running through my headphones if I need it. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good basics live stream of this. If you have any questions about DaVinci Resolve and how to get this all set up, leave them in the comment section, and I will do my best to give you an answer or another live stream like this one or a short video. I've discovered that shorts work pretty well, so I get a lot of views, and they're pretty easy to produce because they have that 2-minute time limit. So that's a good way to do answers instead of just answer to the comments. So if you comment and have a question, I'll probably get you a question right away, and then in a couple days, possibly, I'll make a YouTube short about how to do that. So anyway, I think that's probably it for this video. Again, any questions, ask them in the comments below, and thank you for watching. Now I have to wait for it to catch up before I can